live, laugh.
How's it going, everybody? My name is Daniel.
And I'm Christian.
We are joined by the Zuka King. I don't know why I said the Zuka King. It's just
I
Zuka
feel like
King.
there should be a the there because he is the most important king in the room right now.
Exactly.
Professional wrestler, twisted tea enthusiast.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
How could he not be? I mean, you got to support the brand where you can.
Absolutely. Hopefully they sponsor me.
Yeah.
I'm here for it. I'm absolutely here for that.
So how are you doing tonight?
I'm great, man. How about y'all?
We're doing great.
Yeah, good.
So we're excited to talk with you. You are a pretty big name in North Carolina right now, South Carolina too. Hopefully that spreads soon. You've got some.
It's a blessing.
Yeah, you've had some big matches recently. You've got some big matches upcoming. But we kind of like here on first off, where can everybody find you? Sorry, I was jumping right into things, but what about your...
You can find me on Twitter at Z_shop DA World.
Okay.
You can find me on Instagram at Zuka_King_.
Okay, awesome.
And I think on TikTok you can find me at Zuka King 980.
Okay.
Who is taking this Zuka King tag from you? Who do we need to talk to get you the official Zuka King Twitter and everything else?
Say it one more time.
Who is stealing the Zuka King tag from you, man? I mean, I feel like you should have ownership of this.
I think I should. I'm trying to work some things out,
Awesome. Well, hopefully we'll be able to help you get a Twisted Tea sponsorship and the Zuka King everywhere. That's awesome.
So the plan here is, because for everyone to understand who you are now, we kind of want to see where you come from in your history with wrestling. So to jump right in, what's your origin story? Like, what's your earliest memory of professional wrestling?
The first match I really can remember watching, and it was on tape. My cousin always got wrestling tapes. He was a big wrestling fan. But the match I remember was Sting, WCW Great American Bash 1990, where Sting beat Ric Flair for the world title.
Oh, wow.
Oh, that's great. That's awesome.
And that's when I became a Sting fan growing up.
Yeah. Was there a moment where, like, because obviously that's Surfer Sting, is there a moment that you're like, who the fuck is this? Like, who is this guy? Like, yeah, because that's a pretty drastic from like cowabunga, like surfer blonde hair, to like super emo, walking around with the trench coat and a baseball bat.
Total 180.
Yeah,
that is such an unfair place to start watching, because that's like peak. That, like, there's very few matches I consider much better than that. Like, that's two of the best ever.
And that to me, that wasn't even their best match.
Yeah.
What do you think is their best match?
Clash 88. I think it was Clash 88. Yeah,
it's either 88 or 89. Yeah, that's awesome.
No, I think it was 88, because I think that was it was 87, because they were doing Clash of Champions?
Yeah.
They compete with Survivor Series, right? Or something like that?
It wasn't Survivor Series. It was I know what you're talking about.
WrestleMania.
Wait, what?
What did they use Clash of the Champions to compete with?
They had that until I think until they got bought. Actually, I think that stayed with them.
Yeah, it was Clash of the Champions.
Yeah, Clash of the Champions.
Yeah.
Which year?
88.
88. Okay, I was right.
Yeah,
88.
There you go.
Pretty good memory.
Thank you.
What? So you watched that Sting Flair match. What gravitated you towards it that you were like, "Ooh, I want to keep on watching this"? Like, what about? Was it the storytelling in the ring? Was it the kind of larger than life characters? Like, what part of it just drew you in?
The larger than life characters, and the big fight feel of that match, and Sting looking so cool with the he had the blue American gear on, stuff like that. So the whole match was exciting. Like, awesome. I feel like the crowd was into it the entire match.
Yeah.
Because now looking at it now, as a kid, it was fun watching it, back then. But like now looking at it, Rick gave Sting a lot in that match.
Yeah.
Like he bumped a lot for Sting. So, like for Sting to have this big moment and then to me see it as a kid, man, it was a magical feeling.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Where do you go from that? Like after that match, do you kind of like, are you still looking at the tapes or are you starting to watch on TV? What's the next logical step for you?
Oh, I always I watch tape. I watch a lot of stuff from the 80s, the 70s, 60s, 90s. I watch current stuff, current product now. You got to watch that, especially when you're in this, because those are the best, whether we like it or not, how we may feel about certain people. Those are the best people on that program, on both of the programs. You know what I mean?
Sure.
So, I study whatever, know, and there's lucha, European wrestling, Japanese, all over. It don't matter. I'm mostly an old school guy. I mostly study like old tape, so I study like I don't want to keep going on like a rant, like I'm ranting, but
that's
like,
okay.
That's what makes our podcast great.
Yeah,
the less talking we do, the better.
Right. Okay. So like it's certain times like, well, I'll watch like certain territories. So like for like a few months, I'll watch Portland wrestling.
Oh, there you
and
go.
then after that, I'll watch Memphis, and then I'll watch Continental or Mid Atlantic or WWF or AWA. Or Stampede. Like I watch those. I won't sit at home every day and watch it, but like there'll be stuff I'll continuously watch through that. Or like sometimes I like Mid South, or sometimes I watch like 80s and 90s lucha libre or Japanese wrestling. So like it's just whatever I'm feeling at the time.
What are some of the guys throughout those territories that you kind of like drawn to?
Bruiser Brody, Bad News Allen, Buddy Rhodes, Jay Youngblood, Flair. Kerry Von Erich, David Von Erich. Let me see. Butch Reed. Say it again.
Those are great names. Like they're great ones to pick.
Chris Colt, Bull Ramos. It's a lot of guys that John Tolis. Like it's a lot of guys that I studied through it, watching.
Have you always been into like the old stuff, or
I was studying the history of the business before I even got into wrestling.
Nice.
Okay.
So you were like, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but kind of like that wrestling nerd. Like, you're like the kids, like, oh, did you see what The Rock did? And you're like, oh, did you see what Bruiser Brody did? And yeah, that's awesome.
So a guy goes into a territory, does his thing for a while, leaves territory to go to a new territory. Is there something that you took away from that? Because each time they're kind of doing their same thing in a new territory, but they're also reinventing a little bit. Was there ever a takeaway from that you've kind of established in your own wrestling in different like wrestling in different towns, or is it? That might be a dumb question or me just assuming, but I'm just kind of curious of that thought process. If there's a takeaway from being such a big fan of the territories.
You could say it's a dumb question.
You can say it's a dumb question.
Yeah, we'll talk about that off
air. Okay.
Yeah, you ever watch any of the All Japan in the 90s?
Yes, I loved it.
I recently like got into like Misawa and Kenta Kobayashi, and those dudes literally just beat the hell out of each other.
They did.
Like some of the stuff they do, I'm like, how are these people still alive? Some of them aren't, but like Kenta Kobayashi's like just walking around like he's like
nothing ever happened.
Like the CEO of a company, and then you would have no idea that he just like beat the crap out and got the crap beat out of him for like 20 years straight.
And they had long matches back then too.
Oh yeah, like 30 minute match. Yeah.
A favorite match of mine is Kenta Kobashi, and I can never remember his tag team partner's name. And they wrestled Phil LaFons and Doug Furnace for the All Japan tag team championships. That was like the greatest tag match I've ever seen.
Yeah.
I think it was like 90. Is it between 90 or 92?
Yeah, I'll have to check that out. Yeah, I think like Japan.
Matter of fact, it's on YouTube. I'll send it to y'all.
Okay, awesome.
Great, that'd be cool.
Yeah. I watched recently, it was Bam Bam Bigelow and somebody else versus the Steiners.
Vader.
Yes, Vader.
Yeah.
And some of the shit that Bam Bam Bigelow can do is just crazy. Like he's like Rob Van Dam, but like in a fat suit.
Yeah, it's insane the way he can move like that. Like
Yeah.
being in wrestling and getting in the ring and like learning everything and stuff like that. It's impressive to see that, to now do it.
Yeah.
And then see a man that size. And imagine how, I don't think he was a young guy either.
No, I don't think so. Not at that point.
You know, and to do all that, man, it was impressive.
Yeah, for sure. So
even if his moonsault wasn't the prettiest, it's still seeing him do that is mind blowing.
Yeah, from a physics perspective, it's impressive.
And like even so ahead of its time that has now kind of become the big guy style of you got to kind of do both. The fact that he was doing it 20, 30 years ahead of time, that's like, what the hell?
Yeah. Also,
you never know the influence you're making this.
Yeah. Also, head tattoos. I feel like he really paved the way. Like there would be no Jason Kincaid without Bam Bam.
Yeah, I'm about to say Jason Kincaid. He's awesome too.
Yeah, for sure. He's very underrated. But so you're this wrestling nerd. You're studying everything. Is it kind of a given that this is something that you're going to do when you get the chance, or is that something that like kind of happens by chance that you decide that you want to be a wrestler?
I always wanted to be a wrestler.
Did you have a plan, like when I reach this age, I'm going to go to wrestling school, or how did that come about?
Nah, I just kind of, I should have did it when I should have started, when I was like 18, 19. But I was just like living a young life, you know, hanging out, partying, you know what I mean, stuff like that, working a lot. Well, I wanted to do it. I would always tell my friends to do it to the point that they stopped believing me.
Yeah.
And then, and then eventually when I turned 25, I'm like, man, either I'm going to do it or I'm not.
Yeah. Where did you start with your training?
I started training with Bob Keller and John Schuyler in Swansea, South Carolina.
There you go.
And down a dirt road in an old barn.
Those are the best places.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of good stories of people coming out of barns and wrestling in fields and backyards. Not knocking Firestar or AML, but like there's something about like no air conditioning, bad lighting.
It's intense.
Yeah.
It's rough. It I don't know. I just it makes me think back when I first started. Like, man, like I'm here training in this old barn.
Yeah.
And you never know the knowledge that I'm learning in this barn, where I can take it, where it's going to take me.
Yeah.
You know, and places I've been so far. I mean, places I've been to so far is like, man, I've been all over the country, and I just went to go train in a barn.
Yeah.
So
I found that like a lot of people like the love of wrestling is so intense, and I think wrestling is like similar to like being in the NFL, except for a little bit more achievable, where like anybody could technically go to wrestling school, to where like what was it like the first time that you stepped into the ring?
It was cool. It was a really good feeling to like step in there, but it's like at the same time, I didn't feel like I belonged in there yet, belong in the ring yet, because I'm not trained.
Yeah.
So it's like I'm in here, and like even at that time, I felt like, man, I'm just a fan in here.
Yeah.
I want to actually be in here and know what I'm doing in the ring.
Yeah, because like we go to a lot of wrestling shows, and especially like some of the local ones, it's really easy to get close there. And it's this thing that you're so close to, but it's like stepping through the ropes is not something you can do. So I always imagine like as a fan, like stepping into the ropes would just be like as a kid, I would just be like running and doing all kinds of crazy like shit, and like a little like I would probably react the same way I did when I was 12 if I were able to get in today. So that's cool to know. It's kind of like the same thing for you. When you started, did you have an idea of like, this is what I want to do for a career, or is this just something like, I gotta wrestle, I want to have a match?
A career.
Okay. So do you, having that in mind going into training, was it something that you were like, I'm gonna give this like 110%, I'm gonna do whatever it takes? And how did that help you with your initial training?
It made me not want to give up.
Yeah.
Training hurts. It's a lot. And I had to drive. And I didn't have a car, so I had to ride with like Jared, referee Jared Fritz, Kevin Phoenix, or like other guys that we trained with that lived in our area.
Yeah.
I didn't have a car at the time, so I had to ride with them. So that's an hour and a half drive there, and then going to get in the ring, learn how to fall, taking chops, doing spots, hitting the ropes. Hitting the ropes back then for me was the worst.
Really?
Yeah, it sucked. Like I was literally afraid to hit the ropes because I used to just hate hitting them, running back and forth, getting out of breath. It used to hurt. But then once I got over that and like I got my breathing down correctly, I was good to go. Like I love doing it.
Yeah.
It just I had to keep pushing myself because if this is something that I always wanted to do in my whole life,
yeah,
I have to do it.
Of course.
Because if I don't at least do the one thing I've always wanted to do, I feel like I failed myself as a person.
Yeah. What was the so you start feeling, so when you first start, you were saying that it very much felt like you were a fan. What was the moment where it clicked of, I'm doing this and this is who I am now? Like, was there a moment that's like, this is it?
When I had my first match.
Who was that against?
Say it again.
Who is that against?
You ever heard Mad Dog Josh Powers?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's who I had my first match against. So I'm gonna go into a story. So
yeah, please do.
While I was training, Kevin Phoenix. So when I used to train with Bob, I trained under Bob, and Bob is the promoter for WrestleForce.
Yeah.
So he would run the shows at this bar called the Hangar in I think in Casey, South Carolina. Mm-hmm. So we would always every month on Sunday we'd train. We train every Sunday, but like on show days we had to train at the building. So while I was training, I still was getting the ring jackets, doing security, helping with the ring, all that. Whatever they needed, I did it.
Yeah.
Kevin Phoenix started doing this gimmick where he was like, man, I'm not getting on the flyer. I'm not getting title matches. I'm not getting in the main event picture. No, I'm not getting anything.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm tired of it. It's going to be a change. He was making a heel turn. And then there's another guy, a super talented guy, but he took some time off of wrestling for reason I don't know, maybe some personal things, but yeah. Jet Black is the absolute best. And then Jet and Kevin ended up making a team. And then they added Tommy Thomas to the group. Then they added Alex Averino. So I don't know if y'all heard of him. And they started calling themselves the END, the Equal Nation Demonstration. Nice. And they would walk around the ring with their fists up, and Tommy Thomas would talk on the microphone. I think that only lasted about like 2 shows, and they needed new members. So I was almost finishing my training. I was almost done with training when this group was starting up, and Bob called me one day. He said, "You want to be the newest member of the END?" I said, "Yeah, I guess, sure." He was like, "Well, you're gonna be the newest member of the END." Okay, cool. He said, we don't. I don't know how we're gonna get you in, but we're gonna fit you in somehow.
Okay.
I said, okay, cool, awesome. So they had a tag match. It was July 5th, 2015. At WrestleForce show, outside show. Cedric Alexander was there. Lodi, Sick Boy, Harlem, and Houston Bravado.
Cool, yeah.
There was a lot of guys whose names now back then in the past, still names to this day.
Yeah.
Were on that show. And I remember that they told me that I was just going to walk out to the ring with them. Mm-hmm. Like I was just going to walk out to the ring with Kevin and Jet. Cool, no problem. That's no sweat. I just walk out to the ring. You know, I'll be a manager, right? That's how they're bringing me in, and I'll take one bump. So then, this guy named Hex didn't show up. He couldn't make the show for some reason. We don't know. I don't know why.
Yeah.
And then in front of everybody, Bob looked at me. He was having the meeting, and he was just talking to everybody. And in front of everybody in the locker room, he said, "And Zuka King, you're having your first match tonight against Hex. I mean, against Josh Powers, because Hex couldn't make it." And I was like, "What?" I'm thinking in my mind like, "Oh, I thought I was gonna be a manager." Like,
yeah.
But now I have to actually wrestle. I didn't have gear. I think all I had was like boots, and so I had to get some gear. But no, I had a wrestling singlet, and so I went. Brady Pierce was there, Jackson James, and it was I can't remember who else was there. But I went over after the meeting. Everybody was asking, "Oh man, you ready? You ready? You excited?" Because everybody knows me because I'm always there helping and stuff, working.
Yeah.
And I went to go change it, and I put the singlet on. And I remember Jackson James like, "Man, take that shit off." And he gave me some trunks, like some black and yellow trunks, like how kind of like CM Punk used to wear.
Oh yeah.
It was like black and then like had yellow on the side.
Yeah,
he gave me some trunks, and then I went out, and Bob had me come up to Lil Jon song. I can't remember the name of the song. I can't remember the name of that song. And he had me come up to that song. I went out first. And I was a baby face. And I wrestled Josh Powers, and I got squashed. I think I got maybe 2 shots on him. That was it. But everybody said from day one I did great.
Yeah. So you were a Zuka King from the start?
Yes. I was originally I'm not going to say my real name on here.
Yeah.
But originally I was supposed to go by my real name and King. And Bob was going to bring me in because we talked about it after he originally told me that he was going to put me in the group. He was like, "Man, maybe we'll come with an idea where we'll call you your real name King. And we'll say you're like Martin Luther King's great-great-grandson." Because everybody in the group had like a different name than their original name. They had like a more of an ethnic black name, you know. And then I was like, "Okay, cool." And they're like, "When you bring you in the group, then we'll call you Zuka King." But as soon as I went out the curtain, they called me Zuka King. So like, whatever.
Yeah.
You know.
Is that something like you had a say in, like picking, or is that something that was just kind of thrown upon you?
No, that was the name. That was the name I was going to use.
Awesome.
So you mentioned Tommy Thomas, which made my heart happy because I haven't heard his name in a bit. How important was I guess early working with him, and like how was y'all's relationship nowadays? And like it's just Dano, I don't know if you know much about him, but he is phenomenal.
He helped me out a lot. Like he kept me motivated. He would talk to me about like just staying on me about losing weight or just being more. I'm not gonna say not be humble, but he just wanted me to appreciate the good work that I'm doing.
Yeah.
And how I want to get better and stuff like that. And he was a good manager. Like I watch him and study him because he managed me and TJ Boss up in West Virginia a lot. And around the time he was managing Montana and Boss at the same time. So I'd watch him, just watch how he interact with people, see how we click together. You know what I mean? Like if I'm getting hurt in the ring, I'll see if he'll make a face or something like that to show that we aligned, we're together. You know what I mean? And he was always on point about that. He was always he was good. He was really good. It was fun working with him.
Yeah.
Just that he would tell me things to keep me motivated and just to like appreciate myself more. That's awesome. Just actually go at it with that, know that you're Zuka King and you can do this.
Yeah. How would you say that the character has changed over, like, I would say, like, from your starting to now? What do you think the biggest difference is?
When I first started, I was just kind of like the lackey of the group, the guy getting beat up or losing quick. So I kind of like, my role had to change for certain situations. So when me starting off in a group, Kevin was the leader. Jet was like the Randy Orton, the breakout guy.
Yeah.
TJ Boss was the enforcer. Nick Kismet was the veteran, and I was the greenhorn. I was the one who had to take the falls, kind of like be the one who looks ridiculous.
Yeah.
So I had to learn how to sell a certain way to pull that off, because I'm starting off as that character. Then when the group started being more aggressive, I had to learn how to be aggressive. So I had to watch these guys, how they work, and watch other heels and how they work. Mm-hmm. Because the group was kind of falling apart over some things. And so it ended up just me and TJ Boss as a tag team.
Yeah.
So it still worked out to where I could be a little comedy a little bit, but then I still had to be aggressive when I had the opportunities to get somebody, because I had this big monster tag team partner.
Yeah.
Right.
And so that being said, he's the big monster. I had to learn how to talk. So I had to be the talker. I had to be the promo. I had to be the guy that the heel that the fans want to see get beat up.
Yeah.
Because you got to get through the monster to get to me.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And Boss would play his role on just being the big protector, the big guy you don't want to mess with.
Yeah.
So I'm learning from him now, developing my character and talking to him, telling how he tells me just be more aggressive. And then when they were putting they put the APW belt on him. So they took us away from tag teams and they put the APW heavyweight belt on him, because TJ was real hot at the time.
Yeah.
He's still hot right now, but he's doing his own thing right now, but he was really buzzing back then. So he was doing things with PWX. They got him on APW as a heavyweight champion. So then I started managing him. There'd be some shows I wouldn't be put on the card, but I would hit them up and be like, hey, can I just come manage TJ? Just to get out there and learn. So now I'm learning how to talk, manage, see what the crowd reacting to in the ring. So if TJ get hit, I can see what the fans react, if they reacting to it or not.
Yeah.
Just learn how to communicate with guys, stuff like that. I know I'm saying a lot. I'm like super.
Oh no, you're good.
And,
you're good.
And just interacting with the people and stuff like that. And so now I went from just being a lackey to being in a tag team to now being a manager. Mm-hmm. So I'm learning what they like, don't like. I'm giving them funny faces, funny looks, mean looks.
Yeah.
Just to see what was working. Then TJ gets hurt. So now he gets injured. Now I have to be in a singles role. Mm-hmm. So they do a tournament at APW, and boom. Since I got the most heat from being a manager and a tag team guy, now I have to translate that into the top heel, because they're putting the belt on me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So now, early in my career, I'm learning now I have to have the responsibility of being the heavyweight guy. Yeah. So and then I was wrestling guys like Skyler, JD Drake, Timmy Lou, Rob Killjoy, Zane Riley, Bobby Valentine. So many guys. I was wrestling as the champion, Eric Darkstorm. And then being the champion and then wrestling in Chester every 2 weeks, it gave me a lot of once every 2 weeks, it gave me a lot of miles to go, just to learn that character and see what working with different working in front of the same audience all the time.
Yeah.
And then not only just wrestling in Chester, I may be wrestling somewhere in Greenville. I might be in West Virginia that weekend. So just developing that and just learning when to change my character and just learning when, okay, there's something I need to change or there's something I need to do differently or act differently.
You were in a tag team with Drew Hood at one point, right?
Yeah, we did an 8-man tag, I think, at a Comic-Con.
So can you confirm that he does not season his food?
Say it one more time.
Can you confirm that he doesn't season his food?
I don't think so. I don't think he does. I don't think so.
That's all the sound.
I think he just straight bland.
Yeah.
Nothing. No salt, no pepper, no nothing.
Yeah. Drew Hood, no spice.
He's awesome though. He's great.
Yeah.
He's coming along nicely.
Yeah. I was watching one of your matches and I saw you take a chop. I think it was a Rob Killjoy match. And it just kind of popped the question into my head. Who is the hardest chopper that you've ever had? But then I heard that you mentioned that you faced JD Drake. So is there anybody that hits harder than JD Drake when it comes to chops?
TJ Boss and Shane Taylor.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a good crew.
Those are the top dude. And CW Anderson.
Yeah.
He has a nice chop too. He left a bruise on my chest a couple weeks ago.
Because there's obviously like matches like, let's say like Minoru Suzuki, you know that you're going to like probably end up bleeding from the chest. When you're facing guys like that, is there something where it's just like a way to prepare for it? Or is it just like you just kind of got to get it?
Or is it just like, yeah, this is just going to hurt?
This is going to suck.
It's gonna suck regardless, bro. Yeah. No matter what. And hope and pray that the guy throws a bad chop. But then if he throws a bad chop, the fans are going to be upset. So you got to throw a good one.
Yeah.
So you just got to take it for what it is. I personally don't like chops.
Yeah.
I don't like them. It's just not for me. But I understand if I'm working a guy that throws it, here it is. You got it. I wouldn't want to get chopped 100 something times though. One or two would be nice.
Yeah.
Less is more. Okay.
Right. Less.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
You told me like a little while ago, there's a term like for like it started in like Japanese wrestling. And now you see it everywhere where it's like trading chops. What's that called? It's like the King's Road.
King's Road. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm guessing you don't like that kind of style where you just.
Yeah. That's strong.
I watch people do it.
Yeah.
I don't want to get involved in it.
Yeah, I don't blame you.
Because you're smart.
Yeah. There's a guy on TikTok, and I don't know his name. We don't give out free advertisements here, so I'm not even gonna look it up.
If we're not advertising this podcast, we're not advertising anything.
But he has a thing where he'll go to shows, and every wrestler he meets, he asks them to chop him. So his whole page is just him getting chopped by wrestlers, like at the merch line.
And the wrestlers always look so anxious about it because they're like, we don't really want to just lay it in on this kid.
Like, where's the liability here? Like he asked hypothetically, like, yeah, I think I saw Bojack do one recently, like at a show. He looked like he was enjoying it though. So.
Yeah, I know a lot of guys. I met a lot of fans through the years who just, you want to chop me, bro? Like they like getting chopped by like Drake or Boss or whatever. They just like it. I don't know why.
I think we know.
Yes, we'll see how it
feels. So to go back to the Zuka King character, can you walk us through the boom sucker, where that came from?
Oh, Bam Sucker?
Bam Sucker.
Oh, dang it, Daniel. You were this close.
Sorry. We're gonna
now I'm gonna have to hit you with it. Right?
Yeah.
Carlito got lucky last week.
Yeah.
I didn't get to hit him with it.
Well, I actually before you jump into that, I have a Carlito theory. Whoever beats Carlito most recently is the coolest wrestler on the earth. So there you go.
Thank
got
you.
one
Thank you
there.
so much. Right, fresh off of WWE TV too.
Oh yeah, perfect timing.
Right. But so the Bam Sucker started. I remember Timmy Lou had caught on to me saying "sucker" when I talk trash to fans.
Yeah,
he was like, you should use that all the time. I was like, okay, cool. It was like it's a Booker T thing, but I'm just saying "sucker." It's all right. Everybody, people saying that for thousands of years.
yeah,
I'm not saying can you dig that? Can you dig that, sucker? I'm not saying that.
Yeah.
I'm just calling it sucker. And then when the group start falling apart even more, especially when TJ got hurt, I had to go singles. I had to do single stuff, stuff like that. So I would just try to figure out what would differentiate myself from the group.
Yeah.
Because now I'm just a solo act now. And our catchphrase, our little saying was "by any means necessary."
Mm-hmm.
And I remember listening to Kevin Gates' album, and his album is called "By Any Means."
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, man, I could just say "by any means."
Yeah,
I think that's cool.
That's a good through line too.
Huh?
That's a good through line too, like that.
Yeah, absolutely. And then I was like, okay, I can do "by any means." That's cool. And one day I was just up watching old Batman, like the old Batman when he used to have that real skinny Batman.
Yeah.
There you go, right there. Yeah, the original. Yeah.
Yeah, Adam West.
They used to do the bang pow on the screen every time you hit somebody. And I'm like, man, that'd be cool. I'm like, I could say "bam sucker."
Yeah.
And then the "bam" mean "by any means."
Yeah.
Sucker.
That's so good.
And I was like, okay, yeah, I'm gonna do that. That'll be my catchphrase, bro.
Yeah.
And that's what I went with.
Awesome. Especially as a heel, you've got to have something cool to put on a shirt if you want to sell it.
Yeah, it sells. It sells.
Yeah.
I sold a bunch of shirts at the show last week.
Yeah.
It's a blessing, man. You know, people like it. People stop me in the mall or wherever they see me. They're like, "Bam, sucker!" And I'm like, it's cool.
Are you ever with somebody that like you have to like explain that to, or like has there ever been a moment where you're like on a date or something and somebody comes up to you and is like, you have to kind of walk through that?
No, not really. No, not really. Usually the people I'm already around already know.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fair.
Now there's people that have messaged me and was like, "Oh, I know what "bam" means. By any means." They're like, yeah.
That's got to make you feel good because a lot of people are probably just like, "Oh, bam!" Like Batman.
Yeah.
Like they get it. That's awesome. So to kind of fast forward a little bit, you were recently on AEW Dark. Rest in peace, AEW Dark, against the Dark Order. What is it like? The AEW experience. How is that for you?
Yeah, if you could just talk us through that day, kind of how that came about, and how was that catering?
The catering was amazing.
Yeah.
AEW was it was an awesome experience. It was really good. I've emailed them for a while. I did before I did Dark, I was on Dynamite. I was security when Wardlow and MJF was having their feud.
Yeah.
And there was one spot where FTR was wrestling the Guns. And Wardlow came out of nowhere during the middle of their match and started beating up like all the security guys. It was like Lucky, Chance, Patrick Scott. It was, I forgot who the other guys were. But then when he came out to the this was in Columbia, South Carolina. So when he came out, then he threw like Rob Killjoy, Facade, and some other guys out the way. And then he had to come down to me and Tyrell and some other guys. And we were just pushing them out. So I've worked with them before, but I would email AEW and reach out to them, stuff like that. And then eventually they called me for Dark, and I had to go down to Orlando, and they sent an email. You gotta get a COVID test, blood work done, and stuff like that. Or you gotta be vaxxed already. You go to the hotel that they tell you that they go to, and then you get picked up at the shuttle and I think at like 10 o'clock we got picked up, and then we went to Universal Studios.
Yeah.
And they gave us all the instructions of what to do, who we're wrestling, what match we're in, what segment, this and that. And we just did our thing, you know. It was cool being backstage to meet Tony Khan, and I met Arn before I did a seminar.
Yeah.
Just to meet all the guys that's on the roster who's currently rostering at time.
Yeah.
It was cool to be back there, and Drake and Anthony was there, Caleb Conley. There was a lot of people there on that show. Omar Fall, you know, Malachi.
Is that the same time where he kicked Singh in the mouth?
Say it again?
Is that when he had that crazy drop kick against Singh?
Talk about Jay Malachi.
Yeah, Jay Malachi, sorry.
Was it on Dark?
Yeah.
Yeah, he did that 6-man. It was him, Sawyer, and Jackson Drake against the Lethal Jared Singh team.
No, that was way before that.
Okay.
This was like August, this was like I think it was August of last year, because I was supposed to wrestle the show in New York, and AEW reached out to me, so I had to cancel in show in New York.
Very cool.
And what does that catering actually look like? We've heard that it's the best in the business.
The best, and they have everything. Everything. It's probably some of the best healthy food I've ever had.
Yeah.
You know.
Awesome.
Everything is nice. It's hard to describe.
Yeah.
You know.
The true alternative.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like Golden Corral if it wasn't like actively trying to kill you.
Right.
Yeah.
It's amazing the food that they have.
Awesome.
And everybody's cool, you know, everybody's nice. Everybody mostly social. It was a great experience.
Awesome.
Is that a deal where an agent is walking through, this is what's going to happen, or do y'all, like, of course it has to be a certain kind of match, but do you kind of have the creative freedom to like put that together with the guy?
No, it's mostly whatever. Yeah, we don't have too much. We just listen to what they want us to do.
Yeah. Okay.
We're doing our job. We're doing our part. You know, we're brought in because I guess they feel like that we're the talent that they need to get whatever they need to get over or what they got to do. And we just there to, that's how I looked at it. I just there to do that job. You know? Whatever they want me to do, as long as I got the ability to do it and I'm comfortable doing it, I'll do it. But they did ask us, like, do we want to, because me and TGA was a tag team there.
Mm-hmm.
Which you never know, you might see us together in the future. They let us, hey, y'all got anything y'all want to do, this and that? I was like, yeah, we do this and that, if that's okay. Yeah, that's cool. Blah, blah, and we just worked it out like that.
Yeah. Awesome. Kind of something similar to like a really cool experience. As somebody who like kind of grew up watching Sting, WCW, like those old tapes, what is it like for you to actually be able to participate in a War Games match?
Surreal. Very surreal. Just to be in there with C.W. Anderson, who's an Anderson.
Yeah.
You know, and to start with him was amazing for me. It's amazing to me. Because I've always been a fan of War Games and the Horsemen and Crockett Promotions and stuff like that. So to finally be in a War Games match in Winston-Salem that's probably one of the best experiences of my wrestling career.
Yeah.
And to have such an important role in the match. And then bleed for the first time.
Yeah.
You know, so that was special to me.
Yeah. How do you prepare for a match? Like, could we talk to the Dawsons about that? They say you really don't prepare. Like they said it hurts, and you just kind of gotta like know that it's gonna hurt going in. But how did you prepare for that? Especially like you said, knowing that you're gonna bleed for the first time.
Just realizing that, just like they said, you can't really prepare. Just know anything can happen at any time.
Yeah.
You know, you're just in a cage and 2 rings. You never know what can happen.
Yeah.
You know, just like with anything. So you just gotta be ready for it. it's a fight.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's a fight. So this is not like something like, and you got to endure the fight to the end, to the last man walk through, or when that last man quit.
Yeah.
Which somebody wrapped barbed wire around their hand, made me tap out, and I'm not too proud of that, but you know, it is what it is.
Yeah.
And to being there with George South, Brad Attitude, White Mike, Gustavo, PQ, CW, Eric Royal, you know, like Brad Attitude.
Awesome.
That's a classic group of guys. Gustavo.
Yeah, for sure.
You know.
Yeah, like just the history alone. What was it like? Because I know that you've recently wrestled him, and then you had that opportunity. But a guy that's been around as long as he's been, like George South, what is it like facing him in the ring? Like, especially as like a student of wrestling that you are.
It felt good to be in the ring with George because it made me think about watching him back in the day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it felt good because it felt good to. Cause I always like talking to George. Me and George communicate still to this day. We still talk. We always talk. You know what I mean? We're great. You know, just being across the ring from him and working with him, and just the years of listening to him tell stories about the guys he worked with that I'm a fan of back in the day.
Yeah.
You know, and then being around him and see how hard he works. Still right now, how hard he works with the ring, setting up, breaking down, being the shows early.
Yeah.
Still actively wrestling, is the champion.
Yeah.
You know, and competing. Like, yeah, I have a tremendous amount of respect for him, and it was amazing to be standing across the ring from him.
Awesome. Yeah, you mentioned the first match that you ever like remember seeing is Ric Flair. And now you're in the ring with somebody who's been in the ring with Ric Flair. That's got to be like the what is it? The Kevin Bacon.
Oh yeah, the 5 degrees of Kevin.
Yeah,
Bacon.
5 degrees of Kevin Bacon. You could kind of always trace something back to Kevin Bacon, but to like be able to like have that kind of connection to like
that's kind of full circle.
The wrestling that you love. That's awesome. Can you confirm that there is a frequent talk of Jessica Simpson when you're around Mr. George South?
No, I never heard it.
Honestly.
Okay. Really? Okay.
No, I never heard it.
Okay. Brittany Jade said that. I guess maybe it's more something to do with his students, but he mentions his love for Jessica Simpson a lot.
I'm about to ask him about it, but I'm afraid to ask him about it.
Yeah. Awesome. And then I guess kind of bringing everything full circle, this past weekend you had the opportunity to wrestle Carlito at Dominant Championship Wrestling. What was that match like? And guest appearance.
With my cat, Vader cat.
Oh, you're good.
What's your cat's name?
Vader.
Oh,
I love that.
Is that after Vader or Star Wars?
Star Wars, Darth Vader.
Okay, awesome. I've learned that like wrestlers are the like, no offense, but like the biggest nerds. Like,
Absolutely.
it's either like Star Wars, comic books, anime. Like no matter what, like these are these big dudes like throwing punches in the ring, but like all of them are like, yeah, I love comic books, or I love like all this stuff. It's just kind of funny to like see that.
That's like one of my favorite things about these interviews is like there'll be these segments of podcasts that don't make it in where we're just dorking out about just like movies or Star Wars or like.
Yeah, that's awesome.
When I get off of here, I'm gonna play Zelda Tears of
There you go. There you go, dude. Awesome. I someone at work was talking to me about just how ridiculously great it is, and I'm like, oh, I get that Switch.
Yeah.
It's a man. Just the beginning of it is amazing to me.
Yeah,
it's awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. But yes, Carlito.
Carlito. What would you ask me about him?
I just like, what was it like for you to?
Yeah, if you could just talk us through maybe how that came together, what your personal story of that is, how you felt the match was, all that fun stuff.
I've always been a fan of Carlito, even from the start, because he was a second generation guy.
Yeah.
Carlito, Carlos Colon's son. I'm a big
Yeah.
history buff. You know what I mean? So I always thought it was super cool that, man, Carlos Colon's son is in the WWE. You know?
Yeah.
And I thought he was. I literally always thought he was cool. You know, he had
Yeah.
the afro and all that stuff like that. Then he came in. He first match he won the belt. You know.
Yeah.
So I always thought that was awesome. I always liked his character.
Okay.
So I was asked a while ago to the wrestle for Dominant Championship Wrestling. The promoter reached out to me and said, "They tell me that you're a good heel." And I said, that's what they tell me. I'm just blessed to do it.
Yeah.
You know. He said, "Okay." He said, "Well, I'm trusting you." He said, "I want to have you wrestle Carlito." And I said, "Who?"
Excuse?
I was like, I didn't messages to him. I was like, Carlito, is he serious? and I was like, yeah, sure, I'm with it. I'm with it.
Yeah.
And it was on from there.
Yeah.
AC Divine reached out to me and said, we're gonna work on some things. We try to schedule a radio and TV interview, and we want you on it. So I'm like, I've never done that before, but cool. All right, you know. So when we went up there, I can't remember. It was like last month or the month before. We did a radio interview at WPTF radio station in Raleigh. Did a radio interview. That's when they announced that I was wrestling Carlito. To announce to the people. And then we did a TV interview that I hate. I hate it. But we did a TV interview just last week to promote which I thought it was me to promote the fight, but I think me and the host of the show weren't on the same page, but me and the producer was.
Yeah.
Okay.
If that makes sense. Because the producer was all in for me being who I was, but I just didn't like how I came off because the host didn't know.
Yeah.
The you know what I mean, the interview didn't know.
Yeah.
So we did that, and then it was the match, and it's like, man, I went from doing a radio interview to TV interview, and I knew when I posted on social media it went crazy.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like, man, I really did all this work to put in for this one match with this big star. Then he comes back.
Oh yeah.
On WWE TV.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh shit. That's the first time I cussed on the show, right? So
yeah.
So I was like, man. Now I'm kind of worried because I'm like, dang, is he gonna get signed?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is the match got to get canceled? Like, is he gonna be there? Like, man, like all this hype is like, because this has been planned for a long time. You know, like a really long time. And then it was just like, man, this is really about to happen. And it really jumped in my head. It really hit home after I walked out of that news studio. Because I'm like, man, I'm really about to wrestle this guy. I just been on TV, just been on the radio. And now I'm actually in 2 days.
Yeah.
I have to be there to wrestle him. And then I wasn't nervous because I studied him for like weeks. And I've watched him for so long, you know what I mean? So I studied him, just get prepared for what I need to get prepared for, you know?
Yeah.
And then when he walked in, he walked through the curtain. I shook his hand and like Zuka King. And he's like, hey, he didn't really even say anything. So I was like, okay. And then they had our gimmick tables next to each other.
Yeah.
And they had a guy standing in the middle So, and we both had like big posters, and we had our gimmick tables right next to each other, but they were like a guy between us.
Yeah.
And then I looked over at him and I was like, man, I'm gonna wrestle him in the main event on this show.
Yeah.
This is my debut on the show. I just said to myself, I have to be 100%. Like I can't make a misstep.
Yeah.
I can't fail, fall on my face. Like I have to be on point because they put a lot of trust in me, a lot of faith in me, a lot of money went into this, to put this match together. I can't blow it because they're putting me against him, So I kind of even though I had all that in my head, I kind of just let all of it just go.
Yeah.
And just go, you know what? They want Zuka King to go out and be Zuka King. That's what I need to do.
Yeah.
That's what I'm here for.
Yeah.
So it's like, we're gonna do this. It's gonna happen. So I was excited. Like, no more nervousness, no more overthinking it, no nothing. Just the people paid to see Zuka King versus Carlito. They probably played more to see Carlito.
Yeah.
But this is what they're gonna get.
Yeah. If you could go back and like picture the first time that you saw Carlito debut, he beats John Cena for the United States Championship, and say, hey, one day you're going to spit an apple in this man's face. What do you think that yourself would have said at that point in time?
Never even thought of it.
Yeah.
What would I say now?
They're just the thought of that. Like we've had that kind of similar theme in a lot of our interviews is just like what if our childhood self could see what we're doing now, and just like how cool it is to see how far you've come.
I think I'd be completely shocked.
Yeah.
I would be in amazement.
Yeah.
Because that's how I felt. That's how I felt in the ring.
Yeah.
When I was standing across from him, like once I got in the ring and I took my jacket, I already took the jacket off and all that stuff like that, and he took his shirt off, and then like all the girls went crazy and all that stuff like that. And I'm looking around at the people, and then I looked at him. I was like, it's on now.
Yeah.
Like, and I see him, I was like, dang, bro. I remember watching him on TV.
Yeah.
But now I can't. Hey, Mr. Carlito, can I get a picture with you? Now I'm working with you. So now I have to be me. I have to be my character, because now I'm performing this. I'm doing this now. I'm me right now.
Yeah.
So I can't just be like, hey man, you know what I mean? Can I get a picture? This and that.
Yeah.
Nah. This business now. And I gotta put on with him.
Awesome.
That's awesome.
Yeah. I would like to say that we did pay to see Zuka King.
Yeah,
at the show.
For the record, that's why we were there.
I hope I'm not being long-winded.
No, it's literally the best when people are long-winded, because like we said, people aren't listening for us. So to face somebody like Carlito is such like a cool name. Who are some of like if you had to pick a few guys like maybe over the next year and then maybe like long term that are on your like bucket list of guys that you'd love to face?
I'm not a big list person.
Okay.
I see a lot of other people do it. If y'all had messaged me this like a week ago, I could write it down.
Yeah.
I really can't give you anybody. But there's only one person I really want to wrestle, and that's Negro Casas. He's one of my favorite wrestlers, and he's still actively wrestling.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Then,
if I can learn Lucha Libre and wrestle him one time, I'll shave my
head. Hair versus mask.
No, he don't wrestle with a mask. He don't wrestle. He never wrestled with a mask.
Oh, well, that's me for being ignorant, not knowing that.
He was a big deal in Mexico back in the. He's still a big deal now, but he was a big deal back in Mexico back in the 90s and stuff.
Nice. And then you have a match upcoming with Brian Keith. I just want to say that it's really cool. I'm excited for it.
That's really rad.
I'm excited for that.
Yeah. And then I have one question. Christian always has his question that he ends the show with. But who are some wrestlers that you think that more people should know about?
It's a
in our area?
Just anywhere. Anybody do you think more people should go out of their way to see, or yeah?
Judez from California, The Faction from Vegas, Fresco, Watson, Braxton, Ice Williams.
Uh-huh.
The 4 Minutes of Heat, Ricky Gibson. Oh man, what's Ricky's tag team partner name? I'm so sorry. Man, what's Ricky Gibson's tag team partner name? Can y'all pull it up? 4 minutes of Heat. You might have to edit that part out too.
That's okay.
I'll start. Once you give me the name, I'll start.
Eddie Pearl.
Eddie Pearl. There it is. Eddie Pearl. He's amazing too. 4 Minutes of Heat, Eddie Pearl, and Ricky Gibson. Landon Hale. Darius Carter, which his name, he's amazing. Gustavo, Drew Hood, TGA, Lucky, TJ Boss, Austin Bebop. I think he's a super talented guy. And who's another one? Promise Braxton. She's dope.
Oh yeah.
Everybody knows Janai. She's awesome. Who's a good one? Jada Stone.
Oh yeah.
Malachi. It's a list. It's a list of people, man. It's a who's who out there. You know,
it's a great time to be a wrestling fan for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, what is that ideal cheat meal is looking like? Like favorite food? Like, what's that cheat meal?
Japanese food.
There you go.
Yeah, my favorite Japanese spot called Sano Express, like down here in Charleston. Yeah, I'll get that as a cheat meal, but I haven't had it in a while. So
yeah. What's your favorite restaurant in Charleston? Charleston's like a good food town. You got a favorite restaurant besides that?
Let me see. What's a good one? Dang, I really can't think of one.
Sorry to put you on the spot.
Say it again.
Sorry to put you on the spot.
Yeah, it's all good. Reggae Grill is cool. There's a couple of dope places out here, man. I can't name all off the top of my head.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
My dad was stationed in Charleston in the 80s, but we always kind of make trips back there, and it's a beautiful town.
Yeah, it's amazing. Yeah. It's a nice place. The weather's good most of the time. Sometimes it get really hot, but the weather's good, man. And you got the beach.
Oh yeah, for sure. Awesome. Well, we don't want to keep you from Zelda any longer. We really appreciate you taking the time to talk with us. We'd love to have you back on at some point. It's been great to talk with you. So if anybody ever goes to a show and sees Zuka King, ask them about the territories. Yeah.
Please do.
Yeah.
Real quick, me and Darius Carter, Darius Carter was talking to some wrestler, and I kind of, we was in New York. I kind of just sat in and listened, you know?
Yeah.
And then, and just listen to him talk about the territories, and then me add in stuff like that. I think it's good, like, for younger guys to talk to younger people wanting to wrestle, even though we never been in that era, but just to pass on what we heard and saw from the guys back then.
Yeah.
To somebody else, I think it's really informative and pretty cool. Because I love talking about old school wrestling to people.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Awesome. Well, we appreciate you. We might have to have you on just to talk about old school wrestling.
We can do that too. I'm with it.
Awesome.
That's awesome, man.
Well, I hope you have a great night, and good luck with Brian Keith and all your other matches coming up. If you see Zuka King anywhere near you, that's a reason enough to buy a ticket.
Thank you.
Awesome.